Welcome to Mystic Musings with Toby Hewitt. I'm Toby Hewitt, and I'm your guide through time and space and all points in between. Mystic Musings will give you insight into who you are, why you are here, how to live an authentic life, and where you fit into the universe around you. Join me on this path of mystical exploration. Welcome to Episode 7 of Mystic Musings with Toby Hewitt. This week, we will discuss the concepts of loss and grief as we continue our mystic journey. When we lose something, there is a hole created. The cherished book leaves a gap on the shelf. The ring leaves a mark on the finger. The sting of losing a physical object will lessen in time, and maybe the item will be replaced by another similar object. But when we lose a being that has been close to our heart, there is a sense of loss compounded by an empty place at the table, a hand gone from ours, and our arms ache with the formless space we cannot draw close. It is hard, if not impossible, to find solace at the time of the loss. We have created rituals to help ease us past the most intense moments of mourning, but often these do little to calm the waves of emotion flowing through us. But those dearly departed have but left the physical plane, and while nothing can make up for losing their physical presence in our lives, we can be comforted by the fact that they are not dead, for there is no death and there are no dead, but they have merely left their body, transitioned from this plane to the plane known by many names, but which I call, when I think to call it anything, the other here, because everything exists in the same space, but different things vibrate at different rates. Your loved one is now vibrating slightly faster than we are, which is why it is hard for most people to discern their presence. Our loved ones reach out from the other side, but our grief often hides their efforts from us. If we are open to such things, we notice the signs they give us that they are still with us. Feathers, coins, the scent of the fragrance they wore, even the sound of their voice. These are ways that those who have transitioned out of the body communicate with us, and these communications can help ease the loss. For there has been a physical loss, but the person is not gone. They are existing in a different form. Our spirits transition from the physical plane to the spirit plane and back and forth until we have learned what we need to know. It is sometimes hard for the spirit to leave each plane to go to the other because we get used to one dimension and the pull of the other lessens over time until the moment when we are drawn to the other state of being. Death, though, or what we perceive as death, is harder on the physical plane, and grief can take many forms and last until we join those loved ones on the other side. I recently went to the calling hours for a friend's son who passed unexpectedly. The line into the church was long, and the mood of those waiting reflected the depth of relationship each person had with the family. Once inside, the body of the young man in a coffin at the front of the church could be seen, and his family stood nearby to receive the comfort offered by those who had come to pay their respects. As I gazed around the church, it seemed to me that, yes, we were there physically, but our spirits also seemed to be bearing witness to the loss and the grief. While our physical bodies shifted our weight from foot to foot as the line moved forward, our spirits seemed to reach out, one to the other, and the feeling of connection grew until I could discern that I was experiencing a moment of clarity of our place in the interdependent web that binds us as one. I must admit, I was pleasantly surprised by this development because often we exist so separately from each other that it is only in these sorts of moments that we are drawn together physically and spiritually. It was quite remarkable as the growing connective vibrations filled the church. The shock of losing someone and the attendant grief are moments in our lives that can stretch into days, months, and even years of mourning that loss. If we realize that our loved ones are never separated from us any more than if they lived in a different home, always available for a visit, perhaps we would begin to realize the transitory nature of our spiritual journey between planes. And while we are not able to physically hold a person who has transitioned into the spirit plane, sometimes we have visits from them when we are asleep and feel their presence as though in the same space. Once we open our minds and hearts to the reality that there is no death and there are no dead, we can begin to realize there is a place for our grief, but also a place for celebrating the continuing life of the person we perceive as lost, but who remains very much a part of our lives. In this week's exercise, I would like you to again sit in a quiet space, close your eyes, and take a few centering breaths. Once you are relaxed and your mind is open, I want you to use your imagination to sense the presence of your loved one in spirit. Feel them close to you. Allow them to communicate in any way they like. Perhaps imagine a conversation with them about how they are doing and how they enjoy their new surroundings. In your imagination, ask them how it was at the moment they transitioned. Did they enjoy the gathering of family and friends who attended the service celebrating their life and departure? Keep the visit going as long as you like, and then see yourself embracing that person and let them know you will be in touch again soon. When you are ready, sense their return to the other side and slowly open your eyes and write down your impressions in the notebook that you have been keeping. Next week, please join me for episode 8, when we will look at the concept of spirit guides as we continue our mystic journey. Thanks for listening to this episode of Mystic Musings. Please join me every week to continue our exploration of all things mystical that can help you have a more practical and magical life. Please visit my website, TobieHewitt.com, for more information and to read my blog postings. And join me also at pathwaystomindfulness.org to learn how you can schedule a presentation. I'm available for mindfulness training, demonstrations of psychic abilities, and individual readings. I also have a number of books on mystical topics on Amazon.com. I look forward to hearing from you and answering your questions. Please contact me through TobieHewitt.com.